What up guys, Male Mighty's here. Today's deck profile is gonna be a Felgrand deck. I've been building this deck for quite a while, and some of you already watched my deck profiles for the Felgrand, and it's actually been improving, and there's a lot of support cards that work for level 8 Dragon-type monster deck, and specifically Felgrand. And I really appreciate for you guys to have been watching my deck profile for Felgrand, because it's good to always improving little by little and development of this deck. So I want to show you guys what I've been building for this deck and what I added to this deck. And as well as the extra deck. And pretty much the focus is still a banishing effect. And basically I add a few cards that still works and is functional. So I want to show you guys what I had. And it's a 40 card deck. And basically some of the monsters I added from the new sets. So yeah, I will show you guys briefly, and then towards the end of the video, show you guys how I play this deck. So first of all, I added, oops, sorry about the camera kind of moved. So 3 copies of Felgrand because he's the boss monster. 2 copies, it's up to you. But 3 copies for me is the best for me. So I always put 3 copies. And I put 2 copies of Felgrand, Archbrave, because basically I can pretty much recycle this card from the graveyard to the hand and then put it back to the graveyard, or put it back from the deck to the graveyard, depending on how you use it, but I'll show you guys how I do it. 3 copies of Paladin of Felgrand. She's always the best card for this deck, especially for war-type monster. And I added a Raiden. He's a good for a synchro. Light Ray Greffer, and the new card Guardian of Order. I'm not sure this is reprinted, I gotta go back and see it, but this guy's pretty good and he's a level 8 monster. And I also added a Malefic Stardust Dragon. I'm actually waiting for that card to come into my address, but basically he's really good. It's a free special summoning from the hand if you banish Stardust Dragon from your extra deck. And I have obviously Galaxy Eye Photon Dragon, Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon, and you need to have him Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. And I also have a Watch Cat because I have the continuous spell. And I do have 2 copies of DD Crow. 3 copies is good because of the hand trap, and it's not limited to 1 or semi-limited, but just to balance the cards in the deck, 2 copies is pretty good. So 2 copies I would recommend. If you have Ash, sure, if you want to be competitive. But yeah, 2 copies of DD Crow. So now let's move on to the spell cards. So I'm so happy that there's still 3 copies of Dragon Ravine, because this card's just amazing, because he never put me down or let me get my guard down with this. But unfortunately, you only get to have 1 copy of Terraforming. But if you're able to search this card with Metaverse, that's fine too. It's always a good option. And I put 3 copies of Return of the Dragon Lords. I'm still glad that this still not limited or semi-limited. This is just amazing. It's like a Monster Reborn version of the Dragon-type monster. And I have Ruins of the Divine Dragon Lords. You need to have this. For me, I need this card, especially for recycling. And I have 3 copies of Trade-In. It's because you have like a lot of level 8 monsters. And I have Card of Demise, 2 copies. 1 copy is pretty decent, but 2 copies just to get me a additional chance to get it into my hand and activate it. And you do also have a lot of chance to just almost empty your hand. And I have 2 copies of Twin Twisters. This card is also good and it's a quick spell. And I have 1 copy of Rhoda, and 1 copy of Foolish Burial, and lastly 1 copy of Monster Reborn. So these spells are really good. But yeah, like I said, it's always optional to have other cards to be more competitive or budget. And moving on to trap cards, it's a very little, so it's only like 3 cards. So I have, I have 2 copies of Back to the Front, and I do have Lost Wind, just additional support just in case. But yeah, that's about it. And now moving on to the extra deck. I changed this somehow, but not so much. So I have a Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spear. Sorry about that. and I have Deco Talker, I have Underclock Taker, like still kind of be a budget at the same time. You could try to put this into the locals tournament. I have number 41, Utopia. And because I have 2 Arc Brave, I can have Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. I have Odd Eyes Raging Dragon. And I have number 68. And I have number 64. And I do have Galaxy Eye Cypher Blade Dragon because you can overlay him by using number 62. And you can also use Galaxy Eye Full Armor Photon Dragon. And the new set, number 97, Druglubion. Sounds weird, but yeah, this is from the Heroes of Revenge set, and you can have a 1 copy, and I think it's still pretty decent to have this card. And Synchro, Justice, Scarlight Red Dragon Arcfiend, and I have 2 copies of Stardust Dragon because I have Malefic, and you have Tuner Monster Raiden. So that's that. So now let me show you how to play this deck, and it's very simple, as pretty much anyone can play this deck, and it's one of the oldest set or archetype anyway. So if you have this card, and obviously you have to have this card, it's the best combo you ever have for this Felgrand deck, and you also have this card to get rid of the Felgrand to the graveyard. These are like a good set to make it work. Let me kind of push it out a little bit. So if you have this card, and if you have this in your hand, you can always discard this card and then basically send this card from the deck to the graveyard. And if you have a way to send this card to the graveyard, for example, Card of Demise, trade in, you can definitely use where's that card again? Twin Twister. Like, these are like the best way to send Felgrand to the graveyard. So if you find a way to do it, these are the way to do it. To empty the hands, or closely you have less than 3 cards in your hand, you can try to set some of your cards on the spell and trap zone, even though you don't have to use it for until the next turn. And then you can basically use this card, draw up to 3 cards, and then if you have this card in your hand, dump it during the end turn. So that's one way to do it. And then the next standby phase, you can special summon him. If you don't want to do that, right? If you want to just bring out a different monster, you can definitely try to bring out like him, Galaxy Eyes, or you want to bring if you have Odd Eyes on the graveyard, either one's fine. Or if you want to try to bring out by using Monster Reborn or Back to the Front, that's up to you. Like I said, if you already have anything that you can set, you can definitely use Back to the Front. Like I said, trade in's a really best way because you have these guys and then Felgrand on the graveyard. And if you already have Return of the Dragon Lords in your hand, there you go. Even though this card is destroyed by card effect, it doesn't matter because it sets you for the next couple of turns that if your dragon monsters will be destroyed by card effect or battle, you can just banish this card instead. So you have plenty of supports to just avoid or prevent from being destroyed. Which is good about DD Crow is because you still have the focus of this deck basically banishing. Even though you could try to like negate effects, I forgot what it's called, it's like a skull something. It's like the same thing, same effect, which is target that monster from the graveyard and negate this effect. But basically this is just targeting and banish it. But it's best because it's a quick effect and it has a banishing as a focus. That's basically the main purpose of this deck. And yeah, if you want to negate, you could basically use this card just as a backup. Oh yeah, forgot. Foolish Burial, another way to basically send it to the graveyard. So it's really good. Guardian of the Order. The reason I added this card into this deck because if I control level more than 2 light monsters, because most of them are, and then you can special summon this card from your hand, and it's level 8, and it's really easy to overlay. So I recommend you guys to have at least 1 copy to this deck, or if you have level 8 deck, and then you definitely have this, and make sure they are light monsters. Light Grapher is basically any like level 5 or higher light monsters, and if you definitely have Felgrand and you have galaxies or any light level 5 or higher light monster, you can just discard them and then special summon discard from your hand. So you have mostly just almost a free special summoning cards in here. And especially, I'm sorry I don't have the card yet, Malefic Stardust Dragon is really good as well. Just banish Stardust Dragon from your extra deck and special summon this from your hand. So it's a really just keep summoning as long as they're in your hand. And to make it happen, you can use trade-in. Basically that. You can use Watch Cat. The reason I use Watch Cat is definitely because of the ruins of the Dragon's Lords. So you definitely need to have these guys, at least one copy, to kind of get it to like freeze special summoning, and then triggers her effect, and then put this in your spell and trap zone. So it's pretty decent combo. And there's no surprising about this card. It's basically just equip level 7 8 Dragon type monster from your graveyard. From your hand or deck, and it's unaffected by monster effects while equipped to that monster to this card. So, and then basically tribute one monster in this card, target one Dragon type monster level 7 or 8 from the graveyard and special summon it. So it's very basic way for this deck to work, and especially for this deck. So I recommend to have 3 copies. Ride-in, obviously Synchro. I like Ride-in because you could just dump from top of the deck to the graveyard and then end phase as well. And it's a Synchro tuner. So yeah, that's that. You definitely need to have Red Eyes for once per turn, special summon Dragon type monster from your hand or graveyard. And yeah, Monster Reborn too. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to bring it back from the graveyard. You definitely need to have Felgrand, or you need to have at least one copy of Archbrave to just make a banishing combo as much as possible, because that's what I'm trying to do for this deck. So that's that. Sorry, the board is kind of messy, but I'm trying to show you guys what I do for this deck. And hopefully this will be a great reference for your Felgrand deck. And if you really want to try to bring this as a reference to this local, you definitely should try it. I recommend you guys to try it. It's a really good deck. I just can never let this deck go, because I would call this a loyal deck. For me it is. But yeah, anyway guys, that is it for this deck of this video. Let me know what you think. If you have any suggestion to make it more competitive or more budget or whatever, please give me a comment on the comment section below. If you have any questions, I have a Twitter account. Go check it out and just tweet whatever you have questions for me. Or if you think there's more better way to improve this deck or any other deck you have, please let me know. We can always have a conversation with you. So that is it for you guys. Thank you for watching this video. I will make some more videos for this summer, probably next time for this month, or maybe the next month. So don't forget to check it out once in a while. So, all right. So I'll see you guys for the next video. See ya.